welcome. See who's coming in today. I know. You know, washed my hair. I did. I washed my hair and I can't leave my hair down. So I put it up. Oh my goodness. All right. Let's get into this. Good morning. Good morning, Erica. Good morning, everybody. Ah, well, I don't know what to say. I don't know where to start. Um, I I just get maybe because I'm getting old. Let me put my little people down here. There we go. So that I try and do my postings and everything else. And as my husband says, the reason I go on, it's part of my business. It's, to drum up business, to inform people, to let them know, of what I do kind of thing. And then kind of toodle off for the day, not posting every single minute of my day. Maybe I should post every single minute of my day and I'd get more views. But it's amazing how the Pluto and Sag generation, which I have two of them, that sometimes I feel like they don't have a clue of what's really happening and in the world around us. Uh, there was a article that came out that 1 in 4 15 and plus um, are severely depressed or high in anxiety. And it comes down to not being able to socialize or not having socialization. Now I know with my 2, it was like we were always out. We were always out on hockey games or soccer game or going somewhere. Like there was always something. And our car did was not our minivan did not have a video or TV in it or things like that. And I couldn't afford if we had a Game Boy, I'd have to get 4 Game Boys, not 1 Game Boy kind of thing. So, socially, like they weren't on handheld or devices or anything like that. Not until they got into high school, more so, and even having a computer all the time. I never used to have a computer all the time, uh, in our home. But there's a generation that I can even see it within my grandson. The device is there, right? I see it when I go to shopping, and you see, the first thing that moms have with their little ones, they have a little iPad or a little, screen device that they're looking at. And that's kind of scary, I think. I think it's very scary when you start seeing kids, with the devices. And I was saying, this is many moons ago, where I'm like, okay, watching a whole group of people going into a theater and not, and everybody's on their screen texting and everything else, and not conversing with the people that they're with, has now brought us to a generation that depression and anxiety is through the roof. And an anxiety that's not, for me, an awareness of not wanting to go to Stampede on the height, in the and things like that. Like, yeah, that's anxiety. But I know it, and I can sort of, depending what I'm doing, if I'm, like free pancake breakfast day, taking my grandson because he wants to go, I really had to, psych myself up and everything else to go. But there's a generation here that is behind the screen all the time. Like they don't have the social skills, right? And right now, what's trending, it just blows my mind. It just blows my mind because I'm a Pluto and Virgo, so I was raised to critically think about everything. I was raised to really, not take what the government says at face value, or a new letter comes out, like one is being trending right now on TikTok and stuff by oh, um, bin Laden, Osama bin Laden. Like you just don't take it at at face value. I mean, this is like if you read the whole fucking thing, it's stupid. Um, but and saying that, he did do 9/11 and stuff like that. Um, when evidence knows that it's an inside job, right? So this there's no critical thinking about it. Like there's no like, well, where did this letter come on? This doesn't sound normal. It sounds like more like a CIA psyops kind of thing. And I'm just like looking at a lot of, with things coming in with the intensity where Jupiter expands, it's an expansion, and uh Mars is a intensifier. It amplifies things loud, wants to amplify things. And here we have this, want to amplify this and make it, look good. I mean, Osama bin Laden, he was paid by the CIA. He was a CIA op, right? Just like Lewinsky, he's a CIA op. He's being paid off, right? And it's, you know, when you say that, or you mention that to it's like, no, he's not. That can't be it. And they have these doughy eyes, and it's like, oh my God, just pay attention to what's going on. And it's where this is where and a generation is there. And then when you hear them repeating things, that's the other thing is, my father would my father loved to watch the news, and as he got older and we were no longer home, the TV would go on when he was having his lunch. Well, that would never happen when we were kids. We no. But so watching this, and then he'd turn it off. He goes, they're all saying the same thing. He goes, so you know that there's something up when they're all saying the same thing. And I'd be like, what, huh? You know, and then he'd read, he goes, look, see, they're all saying the same thing. It's a repeat. There's nothing new. Like they're rehashing. He goes, like they're trying to make you, they're rehashing the same information over and over again. And they might do it for quite a few days or a week or whatever. And he goes, well, that's when you know that they're brainwashing you. They're trying to convince you of something, whatever it is. And whatever that news is. He goes, it might seem trivial, but it's not. And that's what sort of brought me to really think when, something's being said over and over and over again. And so when I see this trend that's happening and they're repeating practically the same thing over and over again, I'm just like, oh, okay. So they're trying to convince this younger generation of almost a disconnect from the country. And I noticed that on November the 11th, when when I can't remember who was speaking, but she said second generation settler or whatever she's saying. I'm just like, okay, there's a total separation from the country. We want to separate you, and so that now you don't have an obligation almost to that country, you know and I can, watching the astrology, it's like where they want to take away your patriotic feeling of what you belong to. It's almost an unstabilization of your tribe, because your tribe is where you live. Your tribe is not only your family, and then we go to the sacral, from your hub, from your family, the safety and security and the rooting of who you are, to coming into the outreach to your community, whatever that community could be. Some of us were raised within a religious background, so you might have a church community, or you might have your parents were involved in different volunteer things, and that would be part of your community, to your patriotism to your country. That's the other part of community. And then it spreads out. You move up, and of course get connected with that of the divine and come in with our connection as we move up. But that the lower three chakras are so important. Our solar plexus, our sacral, and our root are so important. And it's known that if you shake up somebody's root and you shake up that energy, then we can just slip whatever we want into that vibration. And I see that there is a disconnect with who they are, and that connection with others, and forming that community, forming that tribe. And it's interesting when you start hearing them talk, and all of them said, "Come back and we'll discuss this or tell me what you think." Um, I was I was like, I wrote on mine, "It's a bunch of fucking bullshit." Like, if you go in and do your further investigation of this and know that it couldn't have been written at that time because the United States didn't go into Iraq till 2003. So officially, officially. But still there is this energy that's coming in, and especially with, I mean, Mercury's in detriment right now. He's in Sagittarius and he's going to be going out of bounds. So this is where you have to come into knowing your magic, knowing your energy, knowing who the truth of is you, and really anchoring yourself to that of truth, and not getting pulled away. And it's almost like, I feel like it's a punching bag, those clown ones that well, my kids had one, the clown one that you blew up, and it's, sandbag at the bottom, and they punch it and it come back. So not knowing, my steadiness, I keep getting bounced around. And I feel like there is so much in the world right now and within our own selves that we are feeling like we are being bounced around, and we run out of and it's like you run out of whatever it is that you have, and you're looking for some kind of substitute for it, when in actuality it is still there, but it might be in a different form. And this is where it's like sometimes you're not feeling as strong and as healthy. And I feel like that really it's coming back to your spiritual core. And even within spirituality, and it's critical thinking. You think, you just don't take what somebody says as face value. Oh, because they're up there, I believe what they say. No, you question, and at least that's how I was raised. You question. Like, you just don't take things because they said. That's the same way with the pandemic. I didn't take what they said. Plus, I was watching the astrology and seeing, like, holy shit, there's so much there that's showing me that this is a freaking psyops, and this is that they're going to be doing some kind of crazy experiment. A few years later, here we are. Um, but there's lots of crazy events, and I feel like this weekend is going to be a weekend, as we're going into it, um, something on a whole new level, something that, of where we really have to come into that magic of ourselves, and that deep magic, that knowingness, that hermeticness of who we are, and come into that stabilization. And a lot of people don't want that. They want to have somebody tell them, well, it has to be this, it has to be that. This is where it's knowing yourself, knowing who you are, and understanding that, you just can't throw caution to the wind. And that's where this, where we're coming into this energy. Even K-Pache, even, and it's like, buckle up, this is another weekend of intensity. We should all be getting used to it by now. But there is a common denominator, a feeling within the body, highly charged one way or the other, and it can be passion or madness, or maybe both. It's this scorpionic, maybe, that you question why. And the answers to that question, we need to go within. And we could simply say that if we made good choices in the past, then this can be a time of great joy. And that if you chose badly in the past, this could be loss, betrayal, or abandonment, right? So it's looking at what are the choices we are wanting to make, and how this is coming into our depths of, of the challenge that is coming forth. And especially as the sun and Mars conjunct, they're coming to a full conjunction this weekend at 25 degrees, I believe, and are there throughout the whole weekend until Monday. There's an amplification that's coming in, and we're dealing with problems that there really is no end to answering the questions of why. And you can go down the rabbit hole, and there's infinites, and we can go crazy with this, and asking the same question. But there's a point where it is also helpful, to stop that crazy energy and or behavior, and let go of the need to explain and verify. That's when you look in, and especially with this, even though there's a trine to Neptune. Now, Neptune is one of the weird energies, because it might seem good at the time and it might make sense at the time, but then a week later it's not so good. He's the spiritual hangover sign. And even though there is a trine there, we still feel a bit of loss. And I think there's that whole generation that's coming in, because of the depression, because of the anxiety, is at loss, because they don't have a foundation. They don't have something to give them that substance, that oomph that they need, and it's this, even with Pluto and Capricorn, it's, wants to kick in and up and out, the whole of the ego driven power trips. But this is where it's like understanding that we really have to come to a core, come to this, and yeah, shake your head, because it's like where's that thinking, that critical thinking, that, oh my god, I take this as this has to be true, and you're just like, really, read it again. It's a very propagandic thing, and it's like, why is this coming up? Why is this happening? And Mars is, the strength and courage, and which is, he's even stronger. And when he gets conjunct with the sun, this is where you're going to find that you're going to have to come into that wisdom, that knowing of wisdom that you have within, and know your limits and boundaries and your morals and your truth and your capacity. And we don't violate our own or others' boundaries with this. And that yod with Jupiter, that I've been talking about for the last couple of days, this is more than ever. We need to tap in deeply within and get realistic with our assessments, and because it's in Taurus, right? And this is amplification, and he's going to amplify, and he's retrograde, so it's not coming out the way that we want to. It's not coming out the way that we want to see it, and so we have to investigate, and that will not be deterred or a bunch of bullshit or deceived. And this is where we question, and we look at the reasonings of why is this happening, what's going on there. If this is so controlled by such a group, if the media is so controlled by such a group, the Jewish control the media. Well, if they did, they wouldn't be talking about fucking Palestine all the time and free Palestine. Don't think so. If it's an Islamic, it doesn't make sense to me, right? So I just sort of shake my head, and then I look at the astrology and I say, okay, there's a lot going on here, because they're not critical thinking. They're not taking that time to really look inside and look at the foundations. And as you look in, because you have grown from your three lower chakras and into your heart and your throat and your third eye, hopefully. And because while we are constantly growing and expanding, you begin to look at it and you begin to say, this doesn't make any sense, you know and you begin to question, why doesn't this make sense? Why isn't this, it's that I feel is missing. And it's missing within this younger generation, which seems to be all over TikTok and Instagram and everything else. It's not so much about finding your niche, it's about being on the next trend, and how can I engulf you in. And I think some of them are paid off in order to get that, in order to be, I guess, planted, to have them on that side, which is interesting. It's an interesting one, because there's something, so it's something crazy about this all, that gets me to wonder what kind of what is this, right? How do you cover up things and restart everything? War, right? It's it's where you're seeing this energy that's, and plus, people really do your history on the Palestinians weren't even Palestinians. That's a Roman word, actually, and it was derived from the Romans. And so it's interesting that that even goes back to the Roman times and knowing the history of that whole area. I mean, you have to go way back to understand the whole history of it, and the conflict and everything and how it all erupted, and it's always been erupting, it's always been crazy, but to a point where they're wanting to, I don't know, maybe they just need somebody to look up to, and they're making Osama bin Laden a good guy. I mean, I don't think he was that great of a guy. I mean, he was a CIA. Anyways, I shouldn't say too much because I'm gonna get this whole video is gonna get banned. But making him feel here, that he has something good. But you read the whole thing, it is trying to tear away at of the root of it all. And why are they trying to disrupt the root? And why are they trying to make all of these? Oh, it's about control. It's about control. It's the same thing that Hitler did. It's a control thing. So if I have the mind and control of the children and the youth, I have control of the nation. And if I have control of the nation, anything I say, they'll go for it and they'll rally behind it. They'll rally behind it and they will, and they say they won't fight against it, but they will fight against it or fight in a way that we can mobilize them upon our own land. To cause chaos and disruptions, and causing that chaos and disruption. Mars really wants to be heard, sound loud. Jupiter and expand. Venus feeling lost, she's coming up to the south node, even though that she's in her own sign, but the south node kind of gets you lost in crazy types of diplomacies, and is this true or untrue, and your whole critical thinking can go out the door with it, to you know to get you so distracted on things. I was just reading, and this is a funny thing, because I kind of, with this whole carbon tax bullshit thing in Canada, um and BC was the only province that didn't pipe up about this, right? So BC didn't pipe up about this. So why didn't BC pipe up about this? Well, BC didn't pipe up about this because they got $204.5 billion on new battery facilities. So they got a huge bunch of money to go get this battery facilities and try and their infrastructure won't be able to handle it. But anyways, they got the money to do this. Where it goes, who knows? So of course they're not going to pipe up and be against the carbon tax. Of course they're going to back the little boy blue. You know, I should say little boy red, but but this is where, again, it's like, okay, I question. I wanted to know why, and then I found out some information about that. It's all of these little hidden things that are coming up, and they're coming up, and they're coming up, and that's what, we're going to be having more of that, because Pluto in Capricorn is a disruptor. He's a disruptor of the government. He's disruptor of policies. If it's not in alignment, if it doesn't work, he's going to bring out why isn't it's working. And you have this other energy that's batting against it, that's making it say, oh, but look over here, look at what we're doing. Oh, look at, let me bring out this letter to America kind of bullshit. And then, it's a 2-page letter, you got to read it. Well, yeah, read it, and you'll laugh, because it's like, okay, this has been proven as an inside job. This doesn't make any sense. Why is this being sent out now? It's a psychological thing, right? So it's a psychological warfare. Same with, you don't want to get grandma sick, do ya? So you best stay home, kind of bullshit. And so this is the question. Of course, it pulls your heartstring. You don't want to make grandma sick. You don't want to be the one who kills grandma. You know, it's You wouldn't think you would bomb your own people and kill millions of people, do you? Yeah. So there's something there. And I was also listening to um Neil Neil Oliver, and they want you scared, because if they have you scared, they can have you controlled. And where people are saying, well, it's okay, watch me anyways, with all of the we were watching actually yesterday new cameras being installed at a couple street corners here in Calgary. And I'm just like, those cameras weren't there before. And they're installing them. So they're installing all these new street cameras at different stops at major intersections, and they're like, "Oh, this is just for a case of an accident. Want to make sure everybody feels safe." And I'm like, "Do you feel any safer now than when 20, 30 years ago? Do you feel safer now?" And that's the question, right? And here it is like, when you have civil servants, they're public servants, they're public, they are put up there, the prime minister and all of his little cronies and everything else. I mean, they work for us, right? We are private citizens, so our lives are supposed to be private, according according to common law. I mean, common law is all about not doing harm onto somebody else, not stealing other people's shit. That's what common law is. You don't do harm upon other people. You start doing shit upon somebody else, well, then we get involved. But otherwise, no. And same with natural law. So this is where I feel like there's a whole generation that doesn't understand, and it's like, oh yeah, we just want to be safe. How safe are you when you got people peering into your life in every single second? When you're driving the car, when you're on your phone, we all know that they watch us on our phone and shit like that. We all know that. We seem to have accepted it in some capacity, some more than others, some less than others. One guy in Norway, Borg, he gave up his phone, and he just has just a basic cell phone, and it doesn't have apps or anything else. It's just for telephone calls and texting. It's kind of like an old flip phone. And when he does, he has his camera, and he does his videos and stuff like that, and then uploads them from there. And you know, it's it's that. It's like, like, no, I don't need them to know any more than what they have to. And that's the whole thing. Years ago, here's another story for you. Years ago, I love my dad. Some of the shit is that when he was doing something at the bank, and they said, "Oh, Mr. Merrick, we don't have your social insurance number on file." And he goes, "Yeah, and you won't." And he's like, "But you have to have it." And he goes, "No, I don't. It says optional. It's optional. And if it's optional, then I have an option not to do it." And they're like, "Well, we could find it out." He goes, "Well, maybe you can, but you're not putting it on my account because it's optional, and you don't need to know my social insurance number." And if it said optional, my father wouldn't put it down. It's like, "No, you don't need to know that. You just have here. This is what you got. This is what you get." Right? And it's that type of way. Of course, my dad was a Pluto and Leo, so just, it's like, here I am, and he was a Leo, so here I am, I'm shining, and I'm gonna question you. I'm gonna question, right? I'm not gonna put up with what you are telling me. I'm not gonna put up with that. I'm going to allow myself to do what I need to do. Um, so this is where I feel we're at, like, having this energy, or maybe it was Pluto and Cancer. Anyways, um, this energy of questioning, and we need to be more critical thinkers in our world, in what we do and what we say and what we be, and in everything. Um, People want to read labels. Good, read the labels, find out what you're eating. This is where we have to look at, even though that there's a beautiful trine uh to Neptune. I feel like there's also where it's like, this is, just because it might seem good doesn't mean it is good at that time, because there's going to be something It's like maybe you're going to survive it, and you think this is great at the moment, but you survive it. But there's going to be other factors that are going to come in afterwards that are going to hit you with what's going on. So it's it's where you got to sort of come together and look at what it is in the direction that you need to go in. Sorry, excuse me. So I think it's just utterly crazy, some of the shit that's coming out. My little mug as it takes up my whole face. So, my lovelies, today, believe in your power, believe in who you are. Question everything. Question everything. Um, this is about, Scorpio's, you know, archetype is loyalty, commitment, and devotion. And they give to who and what they love. And this is where you can make you can make this a forging deep bonds with one another. And that's where a lot of this energy is. So to come in and make those bonds deeply with the people that are meaningful and you want to commit to, and you want to create a positive um, energy with them, a positive of community uh, together, and allow yourself to grow and expand and not not be hindered by one person's thoughts or beliefs. And because there's many thoughts and beliefs, and it's great to really understand them and to really look at them and then sometimes question them and question those beliefs and question those values, at times. It's a really important for us to really take ourselves into accountability in our actions and in our deeds in the directions of where we are wanting to grow and expand, and especially in a spiritual way, and going forward. Financial markets, I think, are going to be quite turbulent this weekend. As we go forward, because I mean, of all the Taurus energy and the Scorpio energy, they both control money and commerce and trade. So there's things that are going to be, I think, unexpected that's going to come in there. And with Mercury being in detriment, I mean, it's in its second place of detriment. The worst is Pisces, but where it's trying to be detachment and trying to figure out what the information is. And Jupiter's retrograde, who rules Sagittarius, so it's hard to get really fully that of what you need, and that substance of what you need. So that's where it's like really good to huddle in and connect with those around you, and help to give you that support that you need. If you're feeling very low and out of sorts, this is a time to reach out and really look at, okay, why do I feel out of sorts? What's going on? And be with somebody who can help to guide you through those feelings. It's going to be very critical to be able to do that. And I know every weekend, every week, it's like high intensity, high intensity. We're in, it's almost like in Iceland, ready for the volcano to explode, and it's just keeps on giving you these crazy tremors everywhere, and breaks in the earth and breaks in the road, and steam and that's coming out from it. And you're just like, okay, just blow your fucking head already, kind of thing. Let's get it over with so we can do the cleanup, kind of thing. But I think once it blows, it's going to blow bigger than what is expected, the one in Iceland. So connect connect with one another. It's very, very important. On that note, tomorrow will be my $10 mini readings on YouTube and on Instagram. So if you are wanting a mini reading, get a hold of me, and it'll be an e-transfer or PayPal, and I can give you a 10-minute reading on the live. So, and I'll be going live tomorrow at 10 a.m. and that's Mountain Standard Time. We also have a meditation Saturday morning at 7:30, and that's Mountain Standard Time. So you'll have to adjust to your time, 6:30 Pacific, um, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time kind of thing. So, just to adjust for your time, it'll be a private group. If you're wanting to join me, let me know. It is by donation, but if you can't do the donation, please come and join anyways. You don't have to do a donation. It'll be a meditation to bring forth peace, peace within ourselves and the world around us, and have that connection. So if you care to join me tomorrow morning or Saturday morning on that, it's early morning meditation. So we have an early morning meditation. We also have, a few things, and they'll be popping up in December, peek into 2024. We have Shadow to Light, a year work on gathering and working with the Celtic Wheel of the Year, and the first 10 people that register will be getting the new moon and full moon readings uh, for the year. And those alone are like, if you got one, if you paid for it, right? I think it's like over 920 some odd dollars or something if you got it. Anyways, it's part of the package, and it's $999 early bird special for Shadow to Light. And the Shadow to Light, I've been working, revising some of my worksheets that I've been doing. I'm quite happy about them. I get so excited when I'm doing something, then it turns out it's just like, yes, it turned out. It's so pretty. Um, and working that. But some of the things for the Shadow to Light is that we will be doing is that we want to work into our superpowers and allow ourselves to step into the magical and mystical energies of the year, and um coming in with, with our wisdom and our sanctuary and our divine feminine. So working with the moons and the seasons and helping us to come into a flow, and that's going to help us with our shadow, because then we can feel, maybe not necessarily, but we feel, okay, where is that hindrance, where is that blockage, what do I need to sort of work through this, work around it, or maybe it's really not there, and I'm just making this up. This is about sinking into reality that you are already begun to connect to a more harmonious way of life and living by, choosing not to pressure yourself with false new year deadlines. So we will be that's our Shadow to Light workshop throughout the year and following the Celtic wheel. And there is payment plans with that. So however the payment, and I work with your plan, I work with your how you are, like how your finances are. So you just have to let me know what they are, and we work with it. Uh, this is a time, 2024 is going to be a time of huge gathering, of really connecting with one another and creating communities of divineness, communities that we can connect with and share with, and allow for releasement. We're going to be on averaging meeting once a month, twice a month if it's on the embolic, or on any of the Wheel of the Year celebrations, and bringing in those celebrations into our life, and allowing ourselves to embrace them and make them our own. So that's part of this energy for 2024, going from the shadow into the light. And I feel like it's this energy, and same with everything that's coming through, that coming into that connection and coming into a connection of like-minded people is going to help to be that support when you start getting questioned on so many other things, on why do you think this, why do you do that. I was watching it's called the Dinosaur Hour, and understanding more about what wokeism is, and everything, and asking, I mean, they don't like you to ask questions unless you're, if you're one of us and you think exactly like us, then that's fine, we can talk. But if you don't, you're not allowed to question. Very you know um very Marxist kind of way of being. So just learning just new things and about the world around us and allowing yourself to be in a safe place that is allowed to question, that is allowed to um, let you see things in a new and different way. So, anyways, there's that's going on. Let's pull a card. Let's pull a card for today. And I love it when people question. I love when people send me questions, and um, trying to help and guide. And if I don't have the answers, I definitely will try and help find the answers. There we go. Release. Archangel Raziel. Aziel. I think she came in yesterday. Coming in yesterday. So it's almost like, spiritual transformation. We have to move on. We have to move forward. We have to allow for the transformations to happen. And with that, yeah, Shamuel. Wow. I did cut this and everything. That's just so weird. It's weird when you get cards. I don't know if you guys have ever had it where you get cards, the same cards 2 days in a row or 3 days in a row, and you're like, "No, no, no," and you shuffle, 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 and they still come out. Well, here we go. So it's like a powerful revelation. It's change. Moving on leads to change. So there's change that's coming in that's going to get us to have to move on. And it is about us spreading our wings and doing that transformation that we need to do in order for us to be able to see things differently, become that critical thinker, become that person who is not just taking everything at face value. It's allowing us to see things in a new and vibrant way. And the 5 of Waters comes in. Yeah, things not turning out the way that you hoped. So you really have to turn around. It's that spilt milk energy. Let's see, I'm gonna pull out. This is why I shuffle on. I do do the shuffling on, so you guys can all see it that I'm actually shuffling. And I usually cut, and let's just see. Yeah, going back to, so it's about learning. So a lot of this energy is all about learning some new skill, learning about something, that's new. So take that learning, not just crying over spilt milk, but really stepping into to the changes that are happening in around us, learn about them, understand it, become, get into the esoteric, get into that part of the questioning, of the discovery, of the magic and the mystical. And stepping into that magical and mystical realm is allowing for you to really open up to see things more clearly. It sounds crazy, it may not sound, but this is where, bringing in that practical foundation is going to help us to change what it is that we need to change within our own selves. And as we do that, it changes the world around us because we get a different perspective. And then people receive us in a different way than what they have been receiving us before, because our vibration begins to change. So there you go. I want you all to have such a fabulous day and an incredible day. There's so much out there that's, becoming a bombardment upon us. And I think we just have to take things a lot at face value and really learn and expand from there and question, question, question. So have a blessed one, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.